All right, I now welcome our third panel of the day, Representative Greene and Representative Correa from the Committee on Homeland Security. Your full statement will be submitted for the record, and we ask that you summarize your statement in 5 minutes. Representative Greene, you are now recognized for your testimony.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairwoman Fox. I'm here today to speak in favor of my bill, the Special Interest Alien Reporting Act of 2025, an essential piece of border security transparency legislation. My bill would require the Department of Homeland Security to publicly release monthly reports on the number of special interest aliens encountered, their countries of origin, and where they were encountered. A special interest alien, or SIA, is a non-U.S. person who, based on a DHS analysis of travel patterns, may pose a national security risk to the United States or its interest. Currently, DHS does not report on this data. Instead, we have been left only with random, incomplete announcements of moment-in-time numbers by DHS officials or leaks to the media. The Biden-Harris administration's disastrous policies place the United States in an extremely vulnerable national security position. Over the past 4 years, Customs and Border Protection faced an unprecedented number of special interest aliens from 26 countries that the Department of Homeland Security has determined pose the greatest national security and counterintelligence threats. Those encountered included individuals from adversarial nations, including the People's Republic of China, Iran, Afghanistan, and Syria. The Biden-Harris administration intentional disregard for our laws and breakdown of national security resulted in U.S. Customs and Border Protection encountering over 1.7 million special interest aliens, a staggering number. Many of these individuals were swiftly processed and released into the interior under the Biden-Harris administration's catch-and-release policies. Given ongoing events in the Middle East, this legislation is essential for Congress to conduct congressional oversight of the executive branch. Given the fact that we have been warned of a potential attack on our homeland by Iran or their terrorist proxies, mean that American people should have transparency of special interest aliens coming across our border or who did come across our border the last 4 years. During the Biden-Harris administration, the Border Patrol apprehended over 1,500 Iranian nationals illegally crossing the southwest border between ports of entry. Of those, Biden and Harris admitted 729, that's almost half of those from Iran, into the United States. And we have no idea how many are still at large today. And guess what? We only just now are getting that number because CBP just disclosed it to Fox News' Bill Malugin, who posted it on his social media. That's not how this should work. With Iran threatening Americans with retaliatory attacks on our homeland, President Biden and Vice President Harris, his border czar, created an opportunity for our adversaries to gain access to our nation and wreak havoc when called upon. The Biden-Harris administration welcomed these potential national security risks into our country, including through illegal parole programs they started, such as the CBP One app, to facilitate their quick release into the United States. Parents don't let bad guys or potentially bad guys into their homes with their children. These people should have never been released into our country. Under Biden and Harris, our sovereign borders became revolving doors for illegal aliens, including an untold number of bad actors intent on causing mayhem and harm to innocent people. CBP already publicly reports statistics relating to individuals on the terrorist screening data set who attempt to illegally cross our borders, but they do not release statistics on special interest aliens. The American people deserve to see the data. Similar to the information on the terrorist screening data set, releasing encounter statistics on special interest aliens would not include sensitive information, but general encounter information, which increases the transparency and accountability that are critical to the health of our constitutional republic. After all, it's the American people that pay for the government because they're the taxpayers. They deserve to know. The legislation would show the American people the contrast between open borders and secure borders. It would require DHS to publish the monthly SIA numbers going all the way back to early 2021 when Biden and Harris took office. They will also provide Congress with necessary context to conduct oversight of future administrations. I urge my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to support this important piece of legislation to increase our national security and transparency for the American people whom we all swore an oath to serve and protect. Thank you, and I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. You are now recognized for your 5-minute opening statement.
Chairwoman Fox and Ranking Member of the Governor and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to discuss the Tipping Off Terrorist Act. Although well-intentioned, this bill compromises national security. It's the bottom line. This bill requires Customs and Border Protection, CBP, to publish sensitive data on national security information on a monthly basis, essentially giving the bad guys information to do a better job of penetrating our defenses. But let's look at the big picture. Special Interest Alien, or SIA, just means that someone's travel patterns indicate a need for further scrutiny. It does not mean someone's a terrorist or out to do harm at all. During their committee markup, my colleagues on the Republican side claimed that this bill only required CBP to publish the total number of SIAs that are encountered while trying to enter the country illegally. If that were the case, I would support this legislation. But that is not the case. Greater transparency and accountability, Department of Homeland Security is important. Public needs it, but it should not be done at the expense of compromising our national security, which is exactly what this bill does. As the bill reads, it would also require CBP to publicly identify each SIA nationality, country of last residence, and the geographic location that the encounter was made, and whether the encounter was made at a port of entry or in the interior of the United States. By publishing this information in real time, bad actors will be able to tell who is getting advanced screening from CBP and which locations have been most successful in interdicting these immigrants. The bad guys will use this information to adjust their operations to try and avoid extra screening, which only hurts our national security. And please note that DHS has never publicly released these numbers on a real-time basis because the numbers could give away sensitive information. And please note today, there is nothing to stop DHS or Secretary Noem from publishing these numbers. Instead of addressing this bill on the floor, I asked the author of this legislation to work with DHS to get such information published or made available to the public in a way that DHS considers safe. I would ask the author of this bill to talk to the Secretary of Homeland Security and come up with a structure to publish this information that DHS would not deem harmful to our national security. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Gentleman yields back. Now recognize Ms. Fischbach for her time of questioning. I have no questions. She has no questions. Now recognize Ranking Member McGovern for his time of questioning.
Yeah, Ms. Greene, it's my understanding that DHS can already release all the information that your bill is going to release. I mean, have you talked to Donald Trump? Have you talked to Kristi Noem? Why aren't they releasing it?
What my bill would do is provide transparency for the American people on the DHS website. They would.
Right, but they can do that already. They don't need a bill to do it. I mean, and last time I checked, Joe Biden's no longer president. Alejandro Mayorkas is no longer the head of DHS. All the people that you support are in power. Why don't they do it?
Well, under the Biden administration, the Border Patrol Chief, Michael W. Banks, was trying to release this information.
Yeah, but that's not the
They
question.
put this post out here.
That's not the question.
Because the American people deserve to know how many special interest aliens that the
Well,
Biden-Harris administration let into the country.
Why won't Secretary
Because the American
Noem,
people deserve to know.
No, but why won't, I mean, have you talked to the Secretary Noem?
I'm here with a bill. I would
I-
expect for you to vote for this. We're in danger now with a potential war that has been erupting this weekend. I would imagine this is important information you would want your constituents to know.
I'm just asking a simple question, and that is that, given the fact that, you know, the people that you want in power are in power, they can do this on their own. They don't need a bill to pass to do it. There must be some reason why Secretary Noem and Donald Trump are not doing this already. I mean, you know, maybe it's because they're concerned about some unintended consequences about sensitive information being put out there in public, and it might adversely impact other things that they're doing to protect the security of the American people. But my question was, like, why aren't they doing it?
Well, Mr. McGovern, if you want to direct them to do that, then I'll be happy that you'll be voting for my bill.
No, I mean, they can already do it, and they're not. And so that's number one. That should be an alarm bell for everybody here. But while I have you here, you know, you know, what you had announced that that you didn't know about the section in the budget reconciliation bill dealing with AI, and basically saying that states had no control over putting any regulations in place regarding AI for 10 years. That was in the budget reconciliation bill. And you said, and you tweeted, you said, I am adamantly opposed to this, and it is a violation of states' rights, and I would have voted no if I had known that this bill was in there. I actually agree with you that I think this is a terrible thing to do. In the Rules Committee, before we voted on it, we actually had a mega hearing here, beginning at 1 in the morning, and we had a pretty robust debate on this provision. I even offered an amendment to strip it from the provision, but it failed. And then you tweeted, I would vote no on any bill that destroys state rights and lets AI run wild for the next 10 years. And again, I'm with you on that particular issue. Then I sent out a Dear Colleague, and it was hand-delivered to every office, about another vote we were having, which was basically a revote on the budget reconciliation bill. And I quoted Chairwoman Fox, who said, any member who has any regrets about his or her vote on the first bill has an opportunity to vote no on the rule. If the rule had gone down, you could have forced the Rules Committee to change the underlying bill to actually drop this provision. But you voted yes, you voted to advance it.
I also clearly stated I didn't know about that in the bill before the vote. So I've been very transparent
No,
about it.
but you had a chance
But
to
I'm
read-
glad that you agree with me on, I'm glad that you
had a-
agree with me on that, as well as agreeing that you would like Secretary Noem to release the data. So
you
I'll
had
be
a-
happy to have your vote on this bill
You had a
to
chance to
release the
revote.
numbers of
You had
special
a-
interest
you had a-
aliens
You had a
monthly.
chance to revote on the reconciliation bill, which contained the provision that you said you would vote
We get
no on.
another vote when that comes back from the Senate,
Well,
Mr.
no,
McGovern.
well, that's the issue, is that in the Senate now, apparently, this awful provision has survived the bird bath. So it looks like it will be in the bill that comes back to the House whenever that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess the question is, did you really mean it when you said you were going to vote no on any bill? Because you voted yes twice on a bill that contained the...
It must be really conflicting for you
It
to
is.
agree with MTG. You've agreed
No.
with me twice.
No.
On the AI provision about protecting state rights, and you're agreeing with me on my bill here that these numbers
I
should be
agree with-
released
I-
by
I-
Secretary
I-
Noem. I understand that Democrats have a hard time agreeing with
No,
me because you've spent years attacking me, but the reality is
we have a
that
small
we're in
room- we have
agreement
a
today.
small
So
room here.
I'm excited for your
We have a
vote
small-
on HR 275, so Secretary Noem can
we have a
release
small
these
room here.
numbers. She'll be happy to release them.
We have a small room here, you don't have to shout.
I'm not shouting.
Yeah, but I'm just simply saying that I guess we agree, I guess, in theory, on the fact that this AI provision is bad. The only difference is I actually voted against moving that bill forward twice, and you voted yes in favor of moving it forward twice.
Yeah,
And
again,
I
Mr.
just-
McGovern,
I'm just- I'm
I've
just-
been very public about it, and I know it's hard for you to agree with me.
I know,
because
but
you probably
I-
tell your donors bad things about me.
No,
But you're on record agreeing with MTG, so that's great. This is a big
no,
win
no,
today.
I just wish MTG would vote with me, and actually.
we
and
can,
actually-
on
and
the
actually
special
vote- and-
interest
and
aliens
actually-
bill.
And actually vote against the budget reconciliation bill that contained this terrible provision in it. But even, I mean, you said you didn't know it was in it the first time you voted for it, even though we had a public debate here in the Rules Committee, and then you had a chance to vote against
I don't
it a
watch the
second
Rules
time.
Committee. Like
Well,
most
you know,
Americans,
well, you're a member
I
of the
don't
House of
stay up all night.
Representatives, and
You
it's
guys
your-
are kind of
it's
crazy
a-
in here.
You're a member of the House of Representatives, and it's your job to know what you're voting on. I mean, I
Well,
don't think that's...
Mr.
I don't-
McGovern,
so-
you probably voted with Nancy Pelosi when she said, we got to pass it to read it and find out what's in it. So, that's on you, that's your party, but I'm glad you agreed with me today. Thanks.
So let me just get a straight answer if on the Senate bill. If this is in the Senate bill, will you vote no on the Senate bill?
Well, I'm hoping they take it out. I don't, and I'll be real honest, I'm against a moratorium on state rights to regulate and make laws for their states
Right,
on AI.
right, yeah.
And
So
so
am I to take your tweet literally that you would vote no?
I'm hoping that Republicans take it out in the Senate.
but
I've
if
been
it-
very open and honest about it.
Yeah, right,
And
yeah.
we're not whipping votes today, so what we're doing is we're actually trying to talk about telling the American
That-
people
that-
how many special interest aliens have come across the border. I
and
mean, you supported the Biden-Harris administration, so you supported the release of these people. I can't imagine you would be against this bill.
So
You
that
want
took-
Secretary Nome to release this
I reclaim my
information.
time.
I don't know how you're against this
reclaim my
bill.
time.
Gentleman has reclaimed his time.
So going back to the issue on the budget reconciliation, I assume that it's going to be business as usual, where we have Republicans get out and make strong statements, and then at the last minute cave. So I hope I'm proven wrong on that. On this bill that we're talking about right now, again, the thing I can't quite understand is that you have, I'm sure you have a good relationship with this Secretary Nome. You could pick up the phone and say, hey, do this. And I guess, and if you haven't had that conversation, maybe you have. And if you have, my question would be, why isn't she doing it?
I'm so excited to have your vote for this.
I think there's lots. I think even Secretary Nome, who I have strong disagreements with, and this administration know that it is dangerous, and it could actually damage the safety and well-being of people in this country and of other investigations if this stuff were doing. So to be clear, I oppose your bill, but I'm just wondering why we're wasting our time bringing a bill to the floor that the administration could do on its own. Mr. Correa, do you have anything you want to add?
Thank you, sir. I would support this legislation. It was essentially just numbers and the aggregate are reported to the public. But when it comes to specifics, I would go to the Department of Homeland Security and go with a recommendation. Those are the guys that are playing defense for us, and they've done a pretty good job of stopping terrorist attacks in our country for a number of years. I'm not going to second guess them and start voting for legislation. They would say, break it down by specifics as to what's going on. And that's the argument
Did
here.
DHS come up and testify on this bill in your committee?
No, they did not.
Was there a hearing on this bill?
There was a hearing.
And DHS wasn't asked to come and testify?
They weren't there.
And is there a reason why DHS wasn't there? I'm just, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm going to tell you,
Sir, they're the experts, and I'd like to have them, really control
Is there a
this
rea-
legislation.
Ms. Green, is there a reason why DHS wasn't invited to testify? Or do we have an opinion from them on this? Is there a?
There's no specifics, information, no names, addresses, nothing specific identifying about the special interest alien coming into the country. Secretary Nome has come to our committee and appeared before our
So
committee.
has she formally endorsed this?
Secretary Nome has no problem releasing this information. Democrats are the
Why
only
doesn't-
ones
why doesn't she do it?
defending.
Well,
The
then
Democrats are the ones
if she
trying
has-
to protect special interest
If she has no
aliens.
problem doing it, she can do it.
Mr. McGovern, you're protecting, and
No,
Mr.
I'm
Correa are
just saying she can do
protecting
it.
special interest aliens.
She can do it. She has the power to do it.
Then I'm thrilled to have your vote for
No,
my bill.
I'm not, I think this is a bad bill, but she can do what you want her to do. She's not doing it. There has to be a reason. And I'm looking in the materials here, and I don't see any formal endorsement from the Secretary. Mr. Correa, anything you want to add?
Last year, DHS actually expressed concerns with this legislation, and to the author of this legislation, all of us, I think, are working hard to make sure the homeland is not attacked. But I'm just saying that a lot of the stuff that is required in this legislation, geographic location of the encounter, where these encounters were made, interior, exterior, a lot of this stuff I think is not necessary because it does compromise national security. But don't ask me, ask DHS. They're the ones that can publish, and clearly they've chosen not to.
So to close, let me just say that Ms. Green was very clear in her tweet that she would have voted no on reconciliation if she knew what was in it. But now that she knows what's in it, she's relying on hope that the Senate will do the right thing, when, quite frankly, we actually could have fixed it right here in the Rules Committee. And tweets and statements are great, but the only thing that matters around here are votes. And everything else is BS. If you want to vote the opposite of what you say, I mean, that's why people are very, very cynical around here. But you had an opportunity when we had that revote to actually get this committee and this House to strip that provision from the bill, and you chose to vote basically against what you said. And again, I think this bill that we're dealing with right now, I mean, the problems with this bill, don't take my word for it, but the Department of Homeland Security, headed by Kristi Noem, who could do this, you know, without all of this, is not doing it. It has to beg the question, there's something more to this. In any event, I thank you both for being here. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. As we all know, laws often last longer than any one administration. And if we were discussing AI today, I'd go into the good reasons, and I look forward to a conversation, the good reasons why we want to force a national, consistent policy on AI as opposed to having 50 or 51 different versions. I now recognize Mr. Scott for his time of questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Congresswoman Greene, I want you to know I was at the border the 15th, 16th, and 17th, and Department of Homeland Security has this information. They told me exactly how many countries they had intercepted people from and exactly how many people were paroled in the country. And I'll go back to what the chair just said. Laws transition administrations. And the one thing the Biden administration would have never done is to publish the information about how many people were being allowed into this country from other places where we know they are harboring terrorists. And so, you know, the Democrats want people to believe that all of the immigration is from the Western Hemisphere. That's just not true. It's coming from a lot of places like Iran, places like Afghanistan, places like Pakistan. There are a lot of people that are spending a lot of money. Now you have to spend a lot of money to fly across the Atlantic Ocean or the Pacific Ocean to get to the Western Hemisphere. So they're transiting the oceans, and then they're making their way up, and the ones we catch, they were paroling or allowing to go free into our country. I hope that the Secretary will publish it if this law passes or not. And I hope the law passes because I hope whoever the next Secretary is will have to publish it. I think we should keep a running total from every country of how many people are illegally released into our country. And I'll tell you this, if the general public knew how many people and from what countries they had been released into this country from, Donald Trump would have probably gotten more votes than he got in the last presidential election. So I commend you for your legislation. I intend to vote for it. And, you know, I do hope that the Secretary will go ahead and publish this, whether this law passes or not, because the American citizens need to know who has been released into this country, or at least where they came from. With that, I yield.
Gentleman yields back. Now recognize Ms. Scanlon for her time of questioning.
Thank you. I haven't heard anyone say that they don't support an effort to have more transparency from Homeland Security. I'm reading it here in the minority views, the majority views. So there seems to be agreement about the general concept, but it's the mechanism that we're talking about here today that's probably not ready for prime time. And I think that's the concern I'm hearing from every direction. Mr. Correa, is there a statement of administrative policy here? Has the administration said whether it supports or doesn't support?
Again, thank you, Ms. Scanlon, for that question. Last year, DHS did express concerns with this legislation, last year.
Okay.
And this year, apparently have not come forward in support or in
They
opposition.
may be busy otherwise.
Yes.
So that remains the concern, I think, for certainly on our side of the dais, that, you know, while it may be well-intentioned, that this might undermine national security by tipping off the bad guys, I think, as it
Ms.
was
Scanlon,
put.
I've gone to the targeting center of the Department of Homeland Security, just right outside of Washington, D.C., There's a lot of information they have, and a lot of SIAs, other suspected terrorists, a lot of information they've asked me specifically not to disclose. So I would put a lot of this information in that category. They won't disclose this information because they don't deem it, or I should say they deem it damaging to national security.
Well, that certainly seems like something that should be resolved. Maybe it explains why this isn't something that's going, under
At the very
suspension
least,
of
I'd
rules.
like to see DHS ask for this legislation specifically and how they want this legislation written.
Okay.
And I think there, we could have some guidance as to what specifically is needed and what is okay to share with, not only with the American public, but with our enemies as well.
Okay, that makes sense to me. Thank you. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Now recognize Mr. Norman for his time of questions.
Thank you for putting this forward. Thank both of you for showing up. I intend to support the legislation. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Now recognize Ms. Leisure Fernandez for
Thank you.
her time of
Ver-
questioning.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I found the earlier questioning quite interesting because what it comes down to is courage. It comes down to courage. A tweet is a tweet, but what we do here in this House is vote. And so if you are going to say I'm against something, then show it with your vote. But I want to get to this legislation. And what I'm hearing is we don't have a problem, and in fact, it would be very useful. Democrats don't have a problem. I love it when they say Democrats say, no, we do not. We do not have a problem identifying where the special interests, the SIAs, come from. It's just, why would you give away sensitive information about where we are apprehending them? I think that's basically it. It's a simple thing. I haven't asked you a question,
Okay.
Madam.
No sensitive
Green.
information is provided through the bill.
Lou Correa, I think Representative Correa, I think that's basically the point about this, right?
And right now, it's my understanding that DHS does publish the number of people encountered by country every month. So they're already publishing the information that I would consider, or they would consider, safe. If they wanted to publish additional information, they could, but they don't.
Yeah.
And for us to mandate that, I think is, we should do it if they ask us to do it, but
Yeah.
not on our own.
So Representative Scott's point about needing to know where people are coming from, that you just explained that already happens.
That's correct. It is published already.
Okay, great. Now, I did want to ask one last question, Representative Correa. Should the United States be worried about increased terrorist activity against our country as a result of President Trump joining in the Israel-Iran war effort? I mean, these are things that we should be concerned about because there are lasting effects from that. From your position, what are your thoughts on that?
I think so, but I think we should always be concerned about foreign attacks, foreign terrorist attacks in our country. Remember 9/11? There was challenges around the world, but that essentially came out of nowhere. Failure of our national intelligence agencies. In my area in California, though, it's domestic terrorists that have claimed more lives than foreign terrorists. So in my opinion, you just have to look at this issue from a 360-degree perspective, which is you're always looking for that attack that you're not looking for, the unexpected attack. So that's why I respect what DHS does. I tend to work with them and tend to follow their advice and counsel when it comes to legislation.
Right, and that's also why we would want to make sure that people who are being given responsibility in these roles have experience and are not 22-year-old interns, I would assume. Thank you very much, Representative, and I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Now recognize Mr. Jack, and we do have one more panel after this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. First and foremost, I just want to enter into the record a statement of administration policy that was just released. And for my colleagues on the committee, it says, if H.R. 275 were presented to the President in its current form, his advisors would recommend that he sign it into law. So that is a direct endorsement from this administration of this critical legislation. And I just want to give Chairwoman Greene, who leads the committee on which I serve, an opportunity to offer any closing comments before we wrap.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Jack. Just to reiterate, there's no sensitive information provided according to this legislation. No one's name, no one's address, no one's phone number, no one's picture. So for our Democrat colleagues that are saying this would release sensitive information, that's an absolute lie. It would only have DHS release on their website once a month what country of origin the special interest alien was from and what part of the country they came in. That does not damage any law enforcement efforts, investigations. It just tells the American people what special interest aliens are coming in or what country they're coming from and where they came in the country and how many of them came in per month. And to Mr. Scott's point, this would force all administrations going forward to have to provide this information, as well as it would go back 4 years, because Democrats were not transparent under the Biden-Harris administration, not at all. And they're fighting releasing this information now. It's extremely important. There's over 2 million gotaways in our country. On top of the under Biden-Harris administration, there were at least 1.7 million special interest aliens from 26 countries encountered at our border. 1.7 million. That is a tremendous amount. All this legislation would do would force DHS once a month to post the information for the American people who pay all of our salaries, pay for this building, pay for DHS, and pay the great men and women that protect us in Border Patrol. And I thank you, Mr. Jack, and I yield back.
And I'll just say, Mr. Chairman, before I yield, in the words of the Executive Office of the President, passing the bill is an important step in effectively evaluating the threats to our country and equipping Congress and the federal agencies with the right information to decisively act to protect the American people. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
They already have the power to do that.
Gentleman yields back, and appreciate his clarification from the administration that he was able to obtain. With that, we thank you both for being here and appreciate you being in front of the Rules Committee today. We do have another panel, and we're going to try to get it in before we do votes. For members of the committee, it is my understanding that the chairwoman does not plan to call on votes on the rule until after the voting sequence on the floor, just so everybody knows. So we'll be coming back. Yes, but that's the next panel, right? That would be the next panel. Just stay seated, but we got to well, I got him third, but we'll get you in. All right. So I appreciate it. We'll get the next panel up here. Thank you, Congresswoman. We have Representatives Moylan, Mass, and Correa. Am I saying that right? I see you in the gym all the time. Okay. You'll accept it. I apologize.